Alright, so it's been about a week or two since I've actually last updated anything with this statue. So I just wanted to give you guys an idea where we're at now. I've been using Magic Sculpt and Aves, and whatever I have left over at nights when I work on stuff, I've been filling this in. So you can see we're in a really good position now. We have a nice, good, solid base, and we're starting to work out at least the armature of the clouds. Now, what I've been doing here, as you can see, this is kind of like a cup. The reason why I'm making Aves and I'm using Aves around here making a cup is when I'm ready to actually make the key, because I have to do the boots first, because I always make sure I do the detailing first and then do the key. So I do the key now and then I sculpt the boots, it might not fit in at the bottom. So by making a cup, when I fill this in with like either Magic Sculpt or Aves and I go to push this in, what's going to happen is it's going to come upwards and out instead of trying to put some like Magic Sculpt around it now and then push it in. What's going to happen is it's just going to fall over to the side. So you got to kind of make like a cup type thing. And then what happened was, this was the center of her in the beginning, and I think what happened was when I was putting Aves in there, I think I hit it by accident and I shifted the key a little bit. So now she lines up with this line better. So, but stuff like this happens every once in a while, and it's not the end of the world because, I mean, once it's all said and done, as long as the key and everything's situated and she's set, it's going to work out fine. So what I'll probably do is I'll probably utilize some more Magic Sculpt and everything around underneath here, and then once everything's pretty much at the point where I think I'm good, we'll start, figuring out how to do the cloud stuff. But like I said, we have to focus on the body and everything first, then worry about the base kind of last. But right now it's just good to utilize all this stuff. So I think the next step is maybe we'll probably start working on the boots and somewhat of the shirt. Alright, so at this point I'm going to probably start working on the boots more than anything. And looking on the picture on my screen, the boot gets cut off right about a little bit, almost a little bit lower than the calf. Now her boots have like strings on them, so I gotta kind of do what I did with my bombshell version of Power Girl. So what I'm going to do is, that's pretty much where the top of the boot's going to go, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create lips coming down right about there. I always draw on my stuff like this. Just it helps me do the guides. It gives me a better look of what's going on. So, and then what I'll be doing is I'll be doing a little bit of a lip like this, sort of. Now I might do a little bit. I might not do it as wide, but it's just kind of giving me that idea. And then what I'll be doing is I'll be putting X's like this. But but her boots are a little bit different. Everybody draws them a little bit differently. Some of them just draw it like, if it was like this, they're just doing a line. I might have to go and check that out a little bit more. So let's check. Alright, so looking online, it seems that they don't do cross-hatching for this one, at least in the comic book. Some people draw it on DeviantArt, a little bit different. So if you just use some sandpaper, it's pretty much just erases it right off. So we're going to go back to doing it thinner this time. And right about here. She does have it comes down pretty low though. I mean, she almost has it right about here. So what I'm going to do is, and she doesn't really even have a lip, but I guess I'll have some freedom with it. Maybe I'll just throw a little bit of a lip type thing up there. So what it is she has the bow, which is right around here, And then all she does is she just has lines going across. That's pretty much all she has. So that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing for the boot, something like that. So if you line up the knees together, that's a good thing about having the statue kind of. So the bottom of the knee is right about here and here. Yeah, so I pretty much have it lined up pretty good already. Alright, so got my line up for the shirt up here and here. Got the boots lined up to where I'm going to put those. So the next step is we're going to work on the boots first. We'll get all the stuff done, and then what we could do is we can work on the shirt, and then the skirt will be last once we attach this. And I think we're looking pretty good. Okay, so I did up the boots, at least the main part of the boots. The next step is I'm going to sand all this down and clean all this up. Because a lot of this isn't really perfectly flush, so I'm going to get all that cleaned up. And then I'm going to start working out the laces. Now, I'm not going to do the top lace until the end of the custom, because if I do it now, while handing the item, I'll probably break it off and snap it. So it's better to do it at the end. So what I do is I have a lot of these brass rods, and they come in different thicknesses from K&S. I'm not going to use the really thick one because it's too big. And then I have this thin one, which is a little too thin. But then I have this one here that's in between, that's pretty much perfect. And then all you really do is I'm going to do it off camera. Once I measure out how many laces I'm going to put on the item, and I mark up my holes and I Dremel out my holes, I'll be making a staple effect. So all you do is you kind of just bend this stuff around, and then you clip it, and then you just glue them in. So that's how I'm going to do the laces on this item. But first, sand all this down, and then I'm going to do the little lip around here, and then I'll put some aves in the middle when I put these pieces in as well. So it kind of looks like it's been pressed up against the piece in the middle that's kind of like soft. Also, what I did is I filled in with some Tamiya putty the line work of the Phoenix chest, just for now, just to kind of get it going. I figure when I do the symbol on her chest, it's going to fill in a lot of areas around there, but sometimes like around here I might miss it, so it's harder to kind of get into those areas after you do the sculpting, so I'm just kind of filling it in now. So this way when I sand down, everything's looking good. So that's where we're at. Alright, so at this point I have my Dremel. It's all set up with this nice thin drill bit, thinnest one that I got. And I marked up all my little pieces where I'm going to put the laces in for the boots. So off camera I'm going to sit there and I'm going to drill in all these holes because it's a little bit tedious. Plus I got to make sure I'm going in directly straight. I got to make sure I'm not going in at angles. So it's kind of hard to film that. Plus it's just, you know, drilling holes. So it's really not that much to it. So it's going to take a little bit. So we'll come back once I'm ready to start working on the boots a little bit more with the laces and all the other stuff. Alright, small update. So last night what I was trying to do before I closed up shop, I was using these brass rods and I was trying to bend them to fit the shoelaces that I drilled out in here. But sadly it wasn't working, so I was like, oh man, I was like, what am I going to do? And then I remembered I had this really bendable wire which I use for my Street Fighter arcade sticks. I had a whole, you know, my whole stuff. So all I'm going to really do is I'll be using this wire, but it'll be easier so I could just take this, you know, put it in here, strip the wire, you know, and then I'll have this bendable wire right there that I can bend easier with this. So I was doing some tests with this wire in these holes and it worked out pretty good, but I figured let me get the little middle piece sculpted in here first, get that all ready to go, and then what I could do is I can Dremel out this holes again because I filled it in with some A's by accident, and then I could just start bending this wire and putting it in, just glue it in and in, and I'll have a nice good you know, shoelace. And then what I could probably do is maybe I could use this stuff to bend and at least maybe do the top shoelace as well. I'll have to figure it out as I go, but that's what I got so far, so I think it's going to work out pretty good. Alright guys, so this is where I'm at with the laces. I did up the laces this morning. What I need to do is pretty much prime them up and then clean them up and see how everything's looking, because I like the way the laces look. At least it's like even laces now compared to if I tried to sculpt them. They might not look as good, but this is where I'm at right now. I'm going to attach the leg to after that's done, and then I'm going to get her set up in the base. Well, as you can see, what I've been doing is I use an extra A's and Magic Sculpt and all this stuff as time goes on. I've been testing a little bit of sculpting with some clouds to see if I want to do this or stylize. I'm still kind of debating on what I'm going to do with the clouds, but you get the shape on how it's going to go. Once I get her, at least the leg is up and the legs, the boots are kind of cleaned up to where I might want to do them, because like I said, I don't know if I want to keep it the way it is now or if I want to pop them all out and try to sculpt them. I don't know. I'm kind of on a fence of where everything is right now. But what I want to try to do is I want to start focusing on the shirt and how I'm going to get the cape on. Because I have another item or two that I want to pass off to the seamstress with in the summertime. So I'm thinking I'll do the skirt last, but at least if I could focus on getting the arm set up, the shirt done, and then the symbol and the head, I can pass it off to the seamstress, you know, so this way this statue is sitting into the base and you can work off the item without it like laying on the floor and all that and breaking stuff. And then when I get it back, I could do the skirt, I could do the hair, I could finish up the hands and all that stuff. So I'm kind of at that point where I want to pass off all three items to the seamstress at once. So I got to kind of figure out where I'm going to go with this one, while the other ones are pretty much ready to go. So that's kind of where we're at. So once I figure out my next steps, we'll come back and we'll see what I come up with. Alright guys, so we got some extra A's. I'm going to do the bottom of the shirt now. The reason why I'm doing that now is because I figured let me get in here so I can get around here, and then I might have to attach the arms and then cut them to where I need to cut them and then make them removable or attach them. I don't know, I'm still trying to figure all this out as I go. So with the A's, pretty simple. I got my baby powder and this A's here, so what I like to do is just take the baby powder like so. Just roll this out. Now I try to make it even, because if you roll, sometimes if you roll A's out and you don't have the baby powder and it sticks, you get like little bubbles between your fingers. So I'm just trying to get this going. So now there's enough baby powder on there. That's good. And just take a ruler, any kind of flat surface, kind of shrink it down. And it will stick sometimes. I didn't throw enough baby powder on it, but that's okay. And then what you do is get some more. Doesn't need to be really super thick. Fairly thin is good. So then, once you're at this point, there we go. Alright, so you make sure you have a nice sharp X-Acto knife, which is over here somewhere. Here it is. So let's try to get a little bit closer. Another button's there, here we go. Okay, so what I like to do is, gonna need a new ruler soon, but serving its purpose. Now you gotta press sort of hard, but not too hard to squeeze, because if you don't press hard enough and you go here, the A's will move. You don't really need to. The thicker it is, the little bit more you gotta kind of cut it. But take that, throw that over there. Okay, now you gotta kind of get it to where you need it. So it's going to be about like that thick. Doesn't really need to be too thick. And just cut this like that. Nice and easy. Let the blade do its work. Alright, so we got that little slice there. So we'll get set up over there for the statue and we'll get this on. Alright guys, so I'm doing attempt number 2 actually. So I did cut the first piece and then I put it on and I wasn't liking what it was lining up, especially in the back, because I kind of wanted to have it taunt over here on this back piece. So I'm going to, what I did is I cut it, my fingernail hit it here and then I cut it here and it didn't line up correctly. So right now I'm going to do number 2. And usually this happens every once in a while with stuff. So what we want to do is make sure we take up the safety solvent, get all the baby powder off, make it nice and tacky. So looking pretty good there. And then the next step is we have to do our attaching it on. So what I like to do is go right about there. Make sure we're going in the correct area. So I'm going to cut it with my fingernail on right about here. Okay, so when we put this piece on, we want to make sure we're lining up where we need to go. Make sure everything's lining up nice and even. This is a little too low. And go there, like so. Okay, so we're looking pretty good. And then what we do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop the camera now. I'm going to use the paintbrush because this is kind of a little tedious now, sitting there trying to just kind of get this all nice and even and making sure it's on pretty good. Okay, so I got the line on, as you can pretty much see going around the shirt. Back there I really wanted to get a taunt. I might have to kind of rework this a little bit, or I might leave it, but I mean the cape's going to kind of cover the back a lot, so we're not really sure what I'm going to do. But I'm going to let this cure up for over the night, and the next time I get to work on this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to work out the shirt underneath here, because right now it's pretty much like a naked top. The t-shirt wouldn't really go all the way in like this here with between the breasts, so I'm going to kind of fill in here, add a little wrinkles under here and stuff, so this way when I put on the symbol it's not going to go around the breast and everything. It's going to be kind of more like a little bit curved and flat type stuff, so we'll see how that works. Plus I got to figure out how I'm going to do the head too and the cape, so I got to kind of really work this stuff out. But I might do the shirt first, then attach the arms, then break off the arms where I need to cut them, because the shirt goes down to about a little bit above the middle of the bicep here, I guess. So I got to kind of rework the arms and stuff. So we're going to keep plugging away on it. Alright, so at this point what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in the shirt area between the breasts and add a little wrinkles under here because the t-shirt she's wearing, it's like a t-shirt, so it's going to be kind of torn between the breasts. You know, right now it's kind of like either it's spandex or she's naked, so I got to kind of want to fill this in at least for the Supergirl because it's going to work a little bit better when I do the symbol. Okay, so what you saw is I filled it all in. So now it looks like a t-shirt now. We have some wrinkles underneath the breast here, and then we have which would be the t-shirt over there. Now, like if you look at it, it's kind of like a little bit curved, so you do see kind of like the curve of the breast, but it's a t-shirt now because it's kind of weird the way Sideshow sculpted it, which is still fine, but we have some wrinkles underneath this arm. You have wrinkles here. You got wrinkles here and here, but it just looked like breasts, you know, like even with spandex on, you know, female around here, you would see some kind of wrinkles and a little bit of a stretchiness here. And then the same thing in the back, I filled in the back here because it was such a deep crevice in the back that it's weird to not have that filled in. So I just kind of filled it in so it's not as deep, but we still see the crevice on the back of the spine over here. And then we will have the skirt, so you'll see what it should look like that. But yeah, so far I'm liking it. It's pretty good. This is going to help out. Once this cures, I'm going to kind of sand this down, get this nice and smooth out. So this way when I do the symbol, it's going to be a little easier. And then I think the next step is what I'm going to have to do is I'll probably will be attaching the head. I'll work out the neck area. And then once I get all that situated, I'll probably get the arms on too. Then chop those off and get those like removable, or just at least I could glue them in or something afterwards. Do the symbol, design it where the cape's going in, get this off to the seamstress, and then I could get it back and I could do the hair and get it all worked out. Alright, so yesterday I had a chance to work in the garage. What I did is I did some sand work on her, and then I did some prime work. So you can pretty much see it's looking like a t-shirt now when you look at the age, because it's like, you know, now normally I probably would have done some stretch marks and some wrinkles in here, but since I'll be doing the symbol, I'm not going to go that route. So right now there's probably some like very fine hairline areas that need to be filled in where the Aves didn't really meet the resin. I didn't sand it out, so I used my Tamiya basic gray putty, and I kind of just fill in some areas just to even this area out, because when this stuff sands, it sands pretty smooth. It really doesn't work for super good thick areas, but it works great for like these little hairline areas that, you know, you need to kind of blend out. Stuff dries fairly fast too. It's not like the putty takes like hours. Like probably in like 15 minutes you could probably start sanding down if you really wanted to. But what I like to do is I like to just try to get every little spot that I hit with the Aves. Running a little bit low on the tube, but it's okay. Just gotta squeeze it out. Just kind of fill in these areas. And I normally don't mind doing a little bit thickness on it because the 3M sandpaper that I use, the padded stuff, This stuff works really well with sanding this down, getting it all nice and even. Plus priming it, you know, filler primer gets in a lot of areas. So I just pretty much do this around wherever I hit it. In the light, I could kind of see what's going on. You know, using the light reflecting to see some areas. But all in all, it seemed up pretty well. Now I know a lot of this area up here is going to get chopped up and covered with the symbol, but I like to just cover all bases. Like even here we got some of the symbol from the Phoenix still showing. So might as well just kind of fill it in for the hell of it. Just in case. So, probably let this sit. Probably the next time I get a chance to get into the garage and do some sand work, I'll probably pull this in there with it. But this just makes sure that I got all this filled in pretty well. That's pretty much it. But looking around the shirt, we're looking pretty good. Now, you know what? Now that I saw it, I'm probably going to have to do the back a little bit too. So that's a good thing just to look around. And just fill it in like here. Stuff works out pretty good. Has a little bit of a smell to it, nothing really serious. Basically when you sand it down, no, you don't want to breathe it in. So you do it outside, do it with a mask. So between this and the filler primer, it usually helps me find a lot of errors. Really gets it smoothed out as much as I possibly can. So, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's pretty much, that's that right there. So, like I said, I'll let this cure up. Then I can sand it down. I'm not sure yet if I have time. Depends on once I get done with other projects. I might decide to attach the arms so I could kind of chop them off. But we'll see what happens.